What's going on, guys? Today we got a video that is going to be pretty cool because we got Bilstein 6112s. We're going to be installing them on this second gen Tacoma here. So if you guys are interested in knowing how to do that or want to follow us along as we do it, please join us for the ride. All right, guys, come check it out on the table here. And so we have the Bilstein 6112, also known as the 6112. I gotta say, this does not flow off the tongue like the 5100. Already my first complaint. All jokes aside, guys, a lot of people usually install Bilstein's 5100s on their trucks, which are a really dependable shock. They do a great job for what it's worth, and they're a little bit more of a budget option. If you go up a step, you're going to find this Bilstein 6112. The benefit of this shock is you're actually going to have a wider shock body, and so this shock body is about 60 millimeters wide, and with that you're going to have an increased oil capacity, which is going to help out with your heat dissipation and overall performance. Important to note though, if you are ordering these online, they don't usually come with the top strut mount here. You're gonna have to buy some aftermarket ones. Luckily, there's tons available, and most shops will be able to order them in for you if you're looking to get them built for you. I personally got them built for us because I just didn't have time or the patience to deal with coil springs. I got a little bit of a phobia about that, I'm not gonna lie. So these got built in the shop for us, cost about 200 bucks depending who you go to. Well worth it for your time if you ask me. And so anyways, this is the 6112, and so we're gonna be throwing this in the truck today, and so let's get started. All right, first step, crack the lug nuts on the ground. Block the wheels, lift truck, make sure to hit the body of the truck. Once you've done that, that front cross member is good for lifting the truck on. We can put the jack stands on the frame rail, shake it, make sure she ain't falling off. And then once you get that wheel off here, you're going to see the old OEM strut assembly, and we're going to take some rust penetrating, spray some PB Blast, spray those bolts in PB Blast, get them nice and loose. Take off this ABS wire, it's a 10 millimeter bolt. That's just going to make sure we don't stretch that ABS wire when we move the control arm. Moving a little bit ahead now, we're going to take care of this end link. It is a 17 millimeter bolt, and then you have a little through bolt, which is a 19 millimeter wrench on it. Smack that baby out. We're going to undo that castle nut. As soon as we undo it, we're actually going to look at how it's mounted, and it's because this is press fit, we're going to have to beat the bejesus out of it in order to release that ball joint from the knuckle there. So we're going to thread it up back on so we don't damage that thread if we hit it with a hammer here. Take a big hammer or your biggest purse, smack that thing, it's going to come right loose. Look at that. And I must say, one of the most helpful things on these projects is having good light. We've been using this light band headlamp. It is phenomenal. Link in the description, of course. Moving ahead, we're going to undo that castle nut there because that control arm is nice and loose. We're going to be replacing these with JBA upper control arms because we are lifting this Tacoma after all, and we want some good quality parts, and JBA definitely offers that. And so we're going to support that hub assembly now that it's loose from the knuckle. Then we're going to take a 19 millimeter socket and we're going to undo the bolt on this lower strut mount here. We're just going to gently do that. And once we have it pretty much off, it takes the washer off there. We're going to start on the top. These are 14 millimeter nuts on top. Might take a little bit of persuasion. Important to know, if you're doing the back one here and you undo it enough, you will get that socket stuck. Not saying we did. So we're just going to take a wrench and undo it that way. It's usually a little bit looser anyways, that back one. And so once we got that, we're just going to gently tap this bolt out with the soft blow hammer, not damaging any threads. You can also keep the nut on if you are worried about that. Then look at this. It's loose. And so we're going to take off the remaining 14 millimeter nuts, as the strut assembly is just hanging by those right now. Take your time with it. Once we do that, you might notice, hey, we don't have much room to remove this strut assembly, so we're actually going to go over here to the sway bar, and we are going to remove this whole sway bar assembly itself. It's just 2 bolts, very easy to remove, and as you can see, with those out of the way, we have a lot more room to pull this strut assembly out. Boom, look at that. And then here, for comparison's sake, of course, we have the new Bilstein 6112s on the right with that larger shock body. Important to note, on the second gen Tacoma, we have our clip settings set to 911, which is for about 2.85 inches of lift in the front. All right, getting started. We're gonna move that sway bar assembly out of the way. You can also swing it upwards if you grab both sides at the same time. Make sure you do unhook both end links and both sway bar bushings if you are removing the sway bar, otherwise you're gonna wonder what the heck is going on. So you might need two people here to just squeeze that strut assembly in. I usually like to go to the top nuts first. One thing that can happen when you get your coilovers assembled is you can have a lower strut bushing that looks a little bit crooked. That's normal. Take a screwdriver, straighten it out with the top nuts tight. So we're going to go ahead and grab that lower strut bolt. We are going to put some anti-seize on it. Gently slide it in there. It might need a little bit of alignment help. Put a nut on it, and then we are going to tighten it. We're not going to torque it down because we do want the full weight of the vehicle on that, so we can torque it according to the manufacturer's spec. Here are some manufacturer specs, courtesy of emailing you online. So for the top strut mount bolts, we're going to torque them down to 47 foot-pounds, and then we got our JBA control arms here. We're just going to tighten that ball joint right up. Assemble that knuckle and ball joint, which is going to be a piece of cake. Once we do that, we're of course going to torque this to manufacturer spec. We're going to have a full video on those JBAs as well. And so we're going to take this precise built torque wrench and we are going to go ahead and torque down this ball joint to about 60 foot-pounds. At this point, we're going to mark our torque settings with a Sharpie pen to confirm the placement of the nuts, and if they ever shift, we can tell. Obviously, it'll be really easy as we painted the entire ball joint assembly, and we are very good at this, and so you should definitely watch this video for tips on how to paint bolts with a Sharpie pen. No one gets frustrated.
Push it down too much.
That was my brother getting frustrated. Anyways, here's another Sharpie pen that's just out of paint, which is just fantastic. Maybe we switch users, maybe we switch pens, but it seems to be working better now. I wonder. But back to work. Who cares who figured out the Sharpie pen? It doesn't matter. It was probably me, who knows. But anyways, we are gonna put that sway bar bushing back on. We're gonna tighten those up as soon as we got the bolts started. And then once we feel confident that those bolts are in there good, we are going to torque down the sway bar bushing brackets to 30 foot-pounds, and then we're going to switch our attention to the sway bar end links to 52 foot-pounds. After that, we're going to throw some new wheels in the Tacoma here. We got some KMC Lobos coming in hot and -10 offset, wrapped in Falcon AT4W 285 7017 tires. And now with the vehicle on the ground here, with the weight on the suspension, we're going to torque that lower strut bolt to 61 foot-pounds, and we are done. Make sure to also torque your wheels down to 84 foot-pounds as per Toyota spec, and we can now admire our new setup. Enjoy.
All right, guys, we got our Bilstein 6112s hooked up to the truck here. They're all torqued up, ready to go. Of course, we got the JBAs on there as well. We'll be posting a review probably in the next few months here after we take them on some trails and do some nice driving on these Bilsteins, depending how you want to pronounce that. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us today. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to do a few more jobs in this Tacoma. We got some 5100s on the back going on and an Adeleaf, so stay tuned. See you later.